Mr. Vice President, Excellencies, friends, last year we celebrated momentous anniversaries. The 25 years since the Declaration on Human Rights Defenders, 30 years since the Vienna Declaration and Programme of Action, and 75 years since the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the architecture of the human rights system. Yet it was also a year of sobering realities and tragic losses. My report is on challenges faced by child and youth human rights defenders. They work with idealism, enthusiasm, personal commitment, and a burning quest for justice. During 2023, I held many consultations with child and youth defenders, including a conference in June in Vienna, where I met over 40 of them from 38 countries. Their input is the basis of this report. I would like to thank everyone for the unprecedented 140 submissions received for the report, and a special thank you to the Austrian government for facilitating and supporting the Vienna event. I've titled my report, "We Are Not Just the Future," a reflection of something I repeatedly heard from many young defenders who not only feel the burden of being responsible for the future, but who are not being supported for the work they are doing now to change that future. Despite often instigating and leading human rights movements, they told me how they do not receive adequate support from traditional human rights allies, are not often taken seriously by other members of civil society, nor by older generations and society at large, and are not meaningfully consulted on matters that impact on them. Since the Security Council first acknowledged in 2015 the important contribution of youth in the maintenance and promotion of peace, the work of child and youth human rights defenders has been better recognized. But children who are human rights defenders, especially girls, face growing repression in many countries. This is often most visible among those working on the climate crisis, but the scale of work done by child offenders far exceeds just this issue. Dishi Ravi, a young Indian climate activist, I met at the youth consultation in Vienna, told me how she had been arrested on charges involving sedition and criminal conspiracy for her alleged involvement in sharing an online toolkit with Greta Thunberg. In September last year, her appeal against a bail condition requiring her to seek permission each time she travels abroad was rejected by the High Court. Defenders participating in a climate strike were arrested in Uganda on the grounds that theirs was a political campaign, despite their repeated explanations that their movement was environmental, not political. 8 young people, 6 of them under 18, were detained for 8 hours before being released. Child and youth defenders most often work at local, grassroots levels, outside of the framework of formal organisations. This makes them adaptable, flexible, and quick to respond, but may also hinder them in accessing funding and forums of participation, including at the international level, where not being registered as an NGO or having ECOSOC status may be barriers to being heard. Young human rights defenders face the same constraints and violations as their adult counterparts, but it impacts them more in many cases. I heard how medical students in Nicaragua were expelled from university for providing first aid to injured protesters and prevented from receiving the academic transcripts they need to continue their studies abroad. In Vienna last summer, too, was a 17-year-old Palestinian girl. She spoke about how she had already faced years of threats for her documentation of human rights violations, and how Palestinian children in the occupied West Bank were subject to Israeli military law and prosecuted in military courts, lacking fair trial rights and protection. Yet she has remained undimmed in her activism. I have thought of her often since the 7th of October, and of all the thousands of Palestinian children killed since, as well as the dozens of Israeli children killed or kidnapped. While social media and digital technologies have been widely embraced by young defenders to mobilise, advocate, organise and publicise. These platforms can also be a source of violations against them, including surveillance, hate speech, doxing and other attacks. Girls and young women who are human rights defenders also face violence, including sexual violence for their human rights work. I remember a 15-year-old pro-choice defender in Argentina who was violently attacked in the street and terrorised with a razor by two men because of her work. She could identify the perpetrators because they had previously threatened her on Instagram. In spite of the challenges, young defenders are achieving real results. Wilder Andres Mosquera Arroyo, a 24-year-old human rights defender from rural Colombia, works to combat forced recruitment of young people into paramilitary groups. He said, "As an organisation, we are proud of the fact that there are very few young people who we haven't been able to save from recruitment by illegal armed groups. In our work, we've focused on resilience. We don't have many opportunities, but when we do, we try to make the most of them." Zainab Abdulhahi, a 26-year-old women human rights defender from a pastoral community in Kenya, said, "I started activism at the age of 14. I had a voice and wanted to show the world that I could speak in a community that told me not to. Being a victim of gender-based violence, I wanted to uplift other girls and tell them we're together in solidarity and give them the strength to come together and talk about our problems in a collective platform. My greatest achievement was founding the first girl-led organisation in the province. I commissioned a poem for the 25th anniversary of the Declaration on Human Rights Defenders, where poet Nikita Gill writes about those who hold up the light so that others can see the path. This is what child and youth defenders do. But they need sustained protection, support, encouragement and recognition from all states present here today. Thank you.